Guys, it's Devin. You are watching another episode of Cap Kids Art Corner, where we talk about how to use art as a means of coping with challenges or big feelings that come up in our day-to-day lives, and how to just practice mindfulness so that we can be kind to ourselves and kind to others. So if you've watched these videos before, you probably know what the first thing that we're going to do is, and that is make sure that our minds and our bodies are calm and safe and ready to create artwork. And that usually means a deep breathing activity, and that's just what we're going to do right now. So I am going to lead us through kind of a guided meditation. So I'm going to start you off with a few deep breaths, and then I'm going to ask you to start breathing on your own. And just listen to my voice. I'm going to ask you to call attention to maybe things in your body and sensations that you might feel. And there's no right or wrong way. I like to close my eyes during this, so I'm going to keep my eyes closed, but if it makes you feel safer to be aware of the space around you, you can absolutely leave your eyes open. So we are going to get into a comfortable position. We're going to take a deep breath and out. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Continue breathing on your own, in and out. And as you're breathing, I want you to turn your focus maybe away from your breath a little bit and into where your body is in space. We are going to start with our toes. Let's wiggle our toes a little bit. Notice what your toes are feeling. Are they inside shoes or socks? Are they barefoot on the carpet or on the hardwood floor? This is where we are really going to be using our sense of touch today. And when we talk about touch, touch doesn't just live in our fingers, right? We can feel things with our toes. So think about what you feel under your toes right now. I want you to squeeze your toes real tight and let them go. Maybe roll your ankles out a couple times. I want you to imagine a color. You can choose any color that you want, but I want you to imagine that a color is climbing up from your toes to your ankles, bringing calm energy. Maybe it's blue, maybe it's pink, maybe it's purple, any color that you want. Now that color is moving from your ankles up to your calves, up past your knees, up to your thighs, your hips, to your tummy. It's reaching your chest. It's coming to your shoulders. And as that calm color comes to our arms, we're going to give ourselves a big hug. We are going to pay attention not only to how maybe our backs or our shoulders feel under our fingertips, but think about the other parts of your body that are touching right now and what they feel like. Think about what your arms are feeling. Think about what your back is feeling. Give yourself one more big hug. We're actually going to stretch real high. And we're imagining that color as we're stretching high. It's reaching up to your elbows, up to the tippy tops of your fingers. Maybe you want to shake your fingers a little bit. And then bring your hands back down to your lap. Take one more deep breath. And breathe out. Ooh. I feel like almost sleepy now. That's how calm I'm feeling right now. Okay, so I usually have you go grab materials and then I have you come back. But we're going to do things a little bit differently today because this video isn't really an instructional video. It's more sort of guiding the use of art making as a means of just sort of checking in with yourself and using art to kind of express how you're feeling in your body and in your mind and in your heart. So we're just going to jump in. All you need today is something to draw with, a piece of paper, and something to trace a circle. So I grabbed a bowl. You can use whatever you like. So what we're going to do is we are going to make a mandala today. I use mandalas a lot in my day-to-day sort of art therapy sessions with my clients who are kids and teenagers and adults. And the idea behind a mandala means circle in Sanskrit. And while oftentimes, if you're familiar with mandalas, sort of like the cultural idea of a mandala is that it has to be symmetrical. And when something's symmetrical, it looks the same on one side that it does the other. Mandalas don't actually have to be symmetrical. In fact, I kind of encourage you to try not to make it symmetrical and just sort of explore with what comes up. So the idea behind a mandala is that it is almost kind of like a snapshot of where you are emotionally right now. And if you watch these videos, you know what a fan I am of abstract art. And if you need a reminder, abstract art is basically art that doesn't look like anything in the real world. It has lines and shapes and colors. It might have movement, but it doesn't need to look like anything. If a particular image comes up to you that you want to include in your mandala, you absolutely can. I've seen animals show up in mandalas. I've seen faces and objects and clouds and moons and whatever you want. But I just sort of want to give you permission to create whatever comes up whenever we make this mandala, because as always, there is no wrong answer in art. So what I'm going to have you do is we're just going to take our bowl or whatever we're using, and we are going to trace a circle onto our paper. All right. My circle isn't perfect, but I think it'll do. So now that we have our circle, let's just think about how we're feeling. And instead of automatically choosing a word for our feeling, let's start with a color. So maybe take another deep breath. If you need to pause and you kind of want to check back in with yourself about how you're feeling, you can absolutely do that. But sometimes the first action whenever we make art can be like the most intimidating, because you're looking at a blank sheet of paper, and sometimes that can be like the scariest thing. So oftentimes if I'm feeling kind of uncertain or hesitant, I'll just like grab a color, do a scribble, and then go from there. And that's also one of the reasons why I love doing these mandalas, is because there's already something on the paper. So that's already like one step that we've already taken, and we can move past it after that. So with this mandala, don't feel like you have to stay inside the lines. Oftentimes mandalas can kind of move outside the limits of the circle. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to create art alongside you, which means that this video might have some silent moments, and I think that's okay. So maybe we can just kind of share this space together right now and create some artwork. I'm going to work silently for a couple minutes, and then I'm going to share what I made and wrap up the video. But feel free to pause the video until you are finished with your mandala, because depending on your mood, depending on what you need, depending on your art supplies, which by the way, you can use anything to make art today. I'm using crayons, you can use paint, whatever you got. You might need more time than I do today. So check in with yourself, think about how you're feeling today and how you might use colors and lines and shapes to express that feeling. So I'm going to get started, and then I'll share with you what I have in a couple minutes. right, so like I said, everybody works at a different pace with art, so feel free to keep working. I'm going to share a little bit about what I did, um, and as always, if you feel comfortable, I would love to see what you come up with as well. So this is my mandala for how I'm feeling today. I'm not always great with words, so I have a hard time identifying like specific emotions sometimes. I don't know if you guys ever feel that way as well. Um, I know we've talked before in past videos about how emotions live in our body. And I'm not sure what exactly emotion I'm feeling right now, but it feels kind of heavy. Emotions can feel kind of heavy sometimes, and so I kind of wanted to go with that heavy feeling. And this is kind of what showed up. There's a lot of movement here, but then there's this sort of like heavy figure or shape or something. Maybe one thing you might want to do is kind of rotate your art and see if you see something different when you get a different perspective on it. I think that's another wonderful thing about art making, is that it can offer a different perspective on things. So this is my mandala for today. Please share your mandalas if you come up with them. And remember that there's no wrong way to create a mandala. I've made mandalas out of objects I found outside. You can make mandalas out of sand or clay or anything. And this is a really great kind of grounding coping skill for you to use whenever, really. You don't have to be feeling bad to use a coping skill. You don't have to be feeling overwhelmed or scared or mad or sad. It can just be a way of checking in with yourself. So thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Cap Kids Art Corner, and I will see you back here next week.